Hey Candles, welcome to Candela Learnings. This is Akshay, your social science tutor. Last session was all about the importance of manufacturing, the ideal location for industry, and the contribution of industry to national economy. And today we are going to discuss about the classification of industries. So industries are classified on the basis of the source of raw material, main role, capital investment, ownership, and bulk and weight of raw material and finished goods. So under source of raw material, we have agro-based industries and mineral-based industries. Under main role, it is basic or key industries and consumer industries. Under capital investment, it is small-scale industries and large-scale industries. And under ownership, we have public sector, private sector, joint sector, and cooperative sector. And finally, under bulk and weight of raw material and finished goods, we got heavy and light industries. So in this session, we'll only focus till capital investment, and the remaining classification we'll see in the next session. Okay, so let's go through agro-based industries. As you look here, textile and sugar industries are examples of agro-based industries. See, there are many industries which comes under agro-based industries like cotton, jute, woolen textile, sugar industry, edible oil, etc. etc. But here we only have to study about two textile industries, which is cotton and jute, and finally the sugar industry. Okay, so the textile industry is a crucial sector of the Indian economy. See, it's called crucial because of three reasons. One is employment generation, second, exports, and finally the third one, value addition. So talking about employment generation, textile industry has one of the largest employers in India. Like, they are providing employment to millions of people. Okay, now exports. See, our country is one of the largest exporters of textiles in the world. And because of this reason, the industry contributes significantly to country's foreign exchange earnings. Okay. Last one is value addition. The textile industry is considered value added industry, which means that it adds value to raw materials by converting them into finished goods. Okay. The industry has the capacity to raise the value of raw resources and in the process increases employment. Okay, and under textile industry you can see cotton and jute. See, before 18th century, cotton textiles used handloom weaving and hand spinning techniques. Okay, but as time changed, like after 18th century, power looms are introduced. Okay, during early periods, cotton textile industries concentrated in Maharashtra and Gujarat, because Maharashtra and Gujarat has cotton growing belts. See, people are really benefited from this industry. I'll tell you how. They helped and provided a living for farmers and workers who were engaged in spinning, weaving, dyeing and designing. And also this industry, the cotton industry, started supporting other industries like chemical industries and all. Okay. See, states like Maharashtra, Gujarat and Tamil Nadu concentrated on spinning. Like, they are getting centralized there. Well, weaving was not like that. They got decentralized. See, I'll give you an example to make you guys understand why is it like that. Okay, take a state of India. We can take Karnataka for example. See, the pattern and the design of weaving from there will be unique. So just like Karnataka, every state in India got their own unique weaving pattern. So if we centralized weaving in a particular state, what will happen? We will miss other unique traditional designs from other states, right? So this is why weaving got decentralized, and this weaving is done in handloom, power loom and also in mills. Now let's talk about the jute textiles. See, we Indians are the largest producer of jute and jute products, but in exporting we stand in the second place after Bangladesh. The majority of the jute mills are in West Bengal, mostly along the Hooghly River's banks. Do you know why this place is favorable to them? I mean, the jute mills. Because there are so many factors which are ideal for them. Let's discuss them one by one. First one is the proximity of the jute producing areas. It refers to the physical closeness between the regions where the jute is grown and harvested and the jute processing and manufacturing industry. Next one is inexpensive water transport. The river is nearby, so they don't have to worry about water transportation, right? Next one is they have a good network of railways, roadways and waterways to facilitate the movement of raw materials to the mills. Other thing is abundant water for processing raw jute. Obviously, if they are planning to locate their factory at a river bank, then they won't be experiencing any scarcity of water, right? Okay. And another factor is cheap labor from West Bengal and adjoining states. So many factors are actually with them. Now let's talk about the sugar industry. Listen, India stands in the second position as a producer of sugar, okay, but stands in the first place in the production of gur and kansari. I'll tell you what is a gur and kansari. See, gur is known by the name jaggery. Now I think you understood what is a gur, right? They are brown in color and also they have a caramel-like flavor. So this is gur. On the other hand, kansari is often lighter in color than gur and has a granular texture, which is very small, okay. Now let's talk about some facts. 60% of the sugar mills are located in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. The remaining sugar mills are distributed in states like Karnataka, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Punjab, Haryana, and finally Madhya Pradesh. Okay. Now we'll talk about the relocation of mills. See, this industry is seasonal in nature. If you look back at the chapter on agriculture, there we discussed that sugarcane is a side crop. So they have a particular time for harvesting. So in recent years, it is found that sugar mills started to shift from their present place to southern and western regions, especially to Maharashtra. And the reason for this is that the sugar cane in these regions have high sucrose content. And this region has much cooler climate which ensures long crushing seasons. Finally, despite all of these factors, the cooperatives in these areas are really successful. Okay. Now let's study about mineral-based industry. Mineral-based industries are defined as those that utilize minerals and metals as raw resources. So this is the definition for it. Now let's study what all industries fall under this category. As you can see here, I mentioned some of the industries that come under mineral based. But here we only have to study about iron and steel industry and cement industry. Regarding petrochemicals, we don't actually have to study about them particularly, but we have chemical and fertilizer industry to look at. Okay. So let's talk about iron and steel industry. See, this industry is considered as a basic industry. Why? Because industries like heavy, medium and light depend on this industry for their machinery. Okay. See, when we talk about steel, it's used for a variety of purposes like construction, defense, medical and so on. Okay. So production and consumption are used as indicators to know the index of a country's development. See, the index of a country's development means measuring how advanced a country is in terms of its economy, education, healthcare and other factors. Okay. So let's talk about manufacturing. In that first point, it means, see, if you take raw materials or a complete product of steel, both of them will be really heavy. So it comes under heavy industries. The problem comes when they are transporting it. The transportation will cost a lot because of its weight. Now here you can see I mentioned the ratio 4:2:1. It is the approximate ratio of iron ore, coking coal and limestone for making steel. And even some amounts of manganese are also used to harden the steel. Okay, so this is all about manufacturing. Now location. Iron and steel industries are mostly concentrated in Chota Nagpur Plateau region. Earlier when we were discussing about the jute mills, we talked about the location where the mill is built, and we also discussed why they choose that place. Just like that, there are many reasons to choose this place as well. And that first one is low cost of iron ore, which means the iron ore availability at that place is much high, and because of that the cost of iron ore is less. Okay. Second point is high grade raw materials in proximity. This means there is a ready and easily accessible supply of high quality raw materials located near a manufacturing facility. Okay. So the third point is cheap labor. I think I don't need to explain about that because we already discussed how it helps, right? It simply means that this place has a higher availability of cheap labor. Okay. And the last one is vast growth potential in the home market. It means within its home market, the company has a large opportunity to grow its operation and boost its income. Okay, here the home market means the domestic market of a company where it sells its products or services to customers within the country. Okay, understood? So this is all about the iron and steel industry. Now let's talk about the cement industry. Let's go points by point. The first point states that cement is used for construction projects like constructing homes, factories, bridges, etc. The second point states that this industry needs raw materials that are big and heavy like gypsum, silica and limestone. It's a simple point. Third point talks that aside from rail transportation, they also need coal and electricity. So why do they need coal and electricity? To provide heat and power for the manufacturing process and also to power the machinery used in the production of cement. Understood? Now the last point, location. Gujarat is home to many cement industry plants, and these plants are positioned in such a way that they can access the markets in the Gulf nations. Okay? So the next we have to discuss about chemical and fertilizer industry. See, talking about chemical industry in India is experiencing significant growth and expansion with presence of both large scale and small scale chemical manufacturing units. Okay, so they produce both inorganic and organic chemicals. In that, organic chemicals include sulfuric acid, which is used to manufacture fertilizers, paints and all. And other inorganic chemicals are nitric acid and soda ash. This soda ash is used to make glass, soaps and detergents. Okay. Now, organic chemicals. Petrochemicals are considered organic chemicals, and this petrochemical is used for manufacturing synthetic fibers, synthetic rubber and plastics. And finally, if we check their location, they are located near oil refineries or petrochemical plants. Okay, so this is all about chemical industries. Now let's talk about the fertilizer industry. See, while manufacturing, the main focus of the fertilizer industry was on nitrogenous fertilizers, phosphatic fertilizers and ammonium phosphate, and also complex fertilizers which have a combination of nitrogen, phosphate and potash. Now if we see the location, after the Green Revolution, what happened is the fertilizer industry expanded to several other parts of the country. Half of the fertilizer production comes from Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh, Punjab and Kerala. Meanwhile, Andhra Pradesh, Odisha, Rajasthan and many other states are also significant producers of fertilizer in India. Okay. Now let's look into basic or key industries. This industry, what they do is they supply their products as raw materials to manufacture other goods. Understood? This is what they do. Okay. In that, you can see two examples of basic or key industries: aluminium smelting and copper smelting. We don't have to study about copper smelting, but aluminium smelting is a topic of discussion. Some important points that you have to note about aluminium smelting are mentioned here. Okay. And that first one is bauxite. See, bauxite is the primary raw material for aluminium. This we already learned in the previous chapter. Next point states that in terms of metallurgical output, India is the second largest industry in aluminium smelting. Next two points are stating its importance. Like it is used to manufacture aircraft, utensils and wires, and also in a variety of industries. It has grown in popularity as a replacement for steel, copper, zinc and lead. Okay. So here I mentioned some important locations of aluminium smelting plants. Now let's take a small break from the session. Now as we discussed many industries, let me ask you a question. Do you know what is the difference between an industry and a company? Look here, I'll explain to you. These are the logos of the three famous companies, Tata, Tesla and Google. Industry is like a big group of companies that make similar things or offer similar services. For example, the car industry has a lot of different companies that make cars or car parts. A company is a specific organization that makes a particular product or offers a specific service. For example, Tata is a company that makes cars, right? Now you understood the difference, right? Okay, now let's get back into the session. Let's talk about the consumer industries. Here I mentioned two examples of this industry, but we are not going to discuss about it, but we will learn what it means by consumer industries. Okay. Consumer industries produce goods or services that people use in their daily lives, like direct use by consumers. And they are also known as consumer goods industries. Okay, now let's check what are small scale industries. Small scale industries are companies with limited capital expenditures. They will have a small workforce and low production capacities. And on the other hand, which is large scale industries, it is quite opposite to small scale industries. Large scale industries are big businesses that produce a lot of things. They have a large number of employees and high production capacity. Okay, if a country is developing, that means large scale industries are involved. Okay, okay students, that's all for today's session. I think we'll meet in the upcoming session soon. Till then, take care. Bye.